So we've been back in 𝗪𝗧𝗏𝗧 for just over a week, and we were literally waiting until Sunday to be able to get back into this apartment here where our stuff is stored. And the people left on Sunday morning, new friends of ours and now fellow house sitters, because they learned from us. And we didn't come in on Sunday because we went to ice bath instead. And then Monday, yesterday, we just didn't feel like doing any kind of sorting things out. But ultimately, we hadn't made a decision. So as much as we were playing the waiting game to get in and come here to this apartment, go through all of our stuff, see what it is that we could sell and get rid of and all of that, we have still just been flip-flopping backwards and forwards for ages now about what we're actually doing. Like, we gave up our rental apartment at the start of April, rushed off to a house sit, have done house sitting for the last couple of months now, and we just don't know whether we should have a home base or not, and keep our car or not, or keep all this extra stuff or not.
It's weird for us because normally at least one of us has some sort of intuitive feeling or pull or direction towards something, and it just hasn't come, and it's been so frustrating. We ended up having a massive, I wouldn't say an argument, but certainly
we've been at loggerheads over a lot of things.
Yeah, and we were even at the point of asking, are we even meant still to be together? Because am I meant to be doing something different to what you're actually doing? Are we having totally different intuitive pulls right now? Which has never happened. We've always been in the same direction.
I think leaving the 𝗪𝗏𝗥𝗟𝗗, which is the location that we were at, and we were there for not quite 2 years, I just was really struggling with the idea of losing the home base. Like, I'd really enjoyed having trips away. Like, we still went to Europe, we still went to Australia, we went to the US. Having trips away with just taking carry-on luggage and coming home and not having to buy all the toiletries again, not having to buy all the condiments again, actually walking straight into the house and just being set up. Here's the extra facial moisturizer or cleanser, or and we've already got some Worcestershire sauce, we don't have to go and buy some.
Here's all our clothes, all of our clothes,
and extra pairs of shoes. Like, I was really enjoying that, because you got to remember 10 plus years of being 100% like a turtle, carrying your home on your back. Like, everything we owned, we could carry in one wheelie bag, or between us, and 2 smaller bags or backpacks or whatever. So,
and we don't have stuff anywhere else. We didn't have stuff back in Australia with parents or anything like that. Nothing. That was everything that
there is no home base anywhere in the world. Yeah. So when we got the car at the end of 2021, we expanded from suitcases and backpacks into what the capacity of the car is. And then obviously we expanded again when we took over. It was actually a furnished 3-bedroom, 3.5 bathroom place for less than $500 a month. But we did our creature comforts thing. We got some nice linen and blankets and kitchenwares, and we had lots of plants and lots of
plants. That was getting to me a bit. And we had a garden which had blackberries. I don't know if you've ever looked after blackberries, but holy crap. They go ballistic, and they were just driving me insane. So the garden, even though it wasn't like massive, it definitely was starting to get to me a bit, having to do that, and all the plants we had in the house.
All right, we're going to have to keep that in check if we're going to actually do a home base again. So anyway, I was definitely more looking along the lines of, it is just too stressful for me to think about getting rid of absolutely everything, because I don't even know if I want to do that. So I was on that lane. Please, let's consider.
This is on the back of Jodie's dad just passing away too. So
that's
having
right.
to
I hadn't grieved
all
that.
of that.
I'd just done a quick rush trip to Australia, gotten back, and we were like packing up our house. So I definitely had the clause in of, let's keep some stuff just in case we get a home base. What do I really want to do? I don't know what I want to do. And that was on the other lane of going, I want to go nomadic. I want to go to Europe and, hire a camper van and drive around for a while. And then after that, we'll be in Asia, and maybe we won't come back to Mexico for a little bit after we get our thing. And everything just seemed too big far out and overwhelming for me. So we started the loggerheads. We started...
It's been a really hard couple of months. I mean,
Yeah.
Jodie's dad passing, me finding out that I've got osteoporosis.
Yeah.
And
Which changed all the plans around
changed
RVing.
all the plans because we were going RVing and now I can't do that. So there's that, all those things.
Oh, and then the crypto market absolutely shitting the bed.
Tanked. So that was our financial aspect as well. So finances have been totally shit right lately. And then leaving our place as well. So all the big things that you could have in life actually had just happened all in about 2 or 3 weeks.
And if you've watched a previous video where we talked about this, I'm sorry if we're repeating ourselves, but
Yeah, just
it's
to
coming,
set the scene.
It's
of,
coming to the point of
Yes.
yesterday afternoon, while we were thinking, oh my God, we spent this whole week waiting to get in here to see our stuff so that we could start selling it. And now it's available to us. What do we actually want to do?
Yeah, so I kept saying to Jodie, there's no point coming in next door or down the road to see all our stuff because we don't know what we're doing. Are we selling it or am going completely nomadic or are we keeping it because we're getting a home base? Like, until we make that decision, it's pointless coming here to see what's here. So that was sort of weighing on things as well. And then Jodie got it.
Nat was asleep in her little cubby house. She was having a little nana nap in the afternoon. And I'm like waiting for her to sort of stir or do something.
Can you wake up now?
And I was like, are you awake? I've got an idea. So here's the idea. And we're not fully on board yet. We're still going to crunch the numbers and process
Pretty good
it.
one.
So we know plenty of people who have talked with us about the idea of having kind of a little bit of a home base around the world. And, you know, a lot of people originally start thinking, oh, you know, I'll make my millions and I'll have a house in Europe and I'll have a house in Asia and I'll have a house in, you know, Mexico or Central America or something. And we're like, we don't want to own anything. You know, we're actually quite happy being completely unencumbered. But we could rent. And
that has been the idea. A lot of nomads that we know, because we know tons of nomads, have said, what if we got a place in, you know, Japan and rented that place, and
kind
then
of like a pool,
people
like
could come and go from
yeah.
it, sort of thing. So there
Or
was
a
always
timeshare.
a timeshare, yeah. And you know, what if we had somewhere in Romania, and that was a timeshare? Like, so there was different places that people could go to if they wanted to. So that's been on the cards for a little while.
Yeah, so, and because I've got a background in accommodation management, like I know how to, you know, book a room. And it's
Run a booking sheet.
It's run a booking sheet. It's not rocket science by any means. And, you know, to all the Airbnb people out there, like, you know, obviously Airbnb takes care of that. But we've had people say to us, what if you rented a place and then you sublet? And that happens a lot in Mexico City. Like we're part of a Facebook group that is always showing up sublets in Mexico City. And it's like, no, it's not about that. It's not about that. I would really like to be able to help our fellow house sitters and budding house sitters get started. So what if we rented, starting with Mexico, and then, you know, down the track, we have our European base, which I instantly felt was going to be Montenegro. And then I said, what about Asia? And I was feeling Vietnam, but then Nat was sort of saying, what about Japan?
Japan has been coming up strangely on our radar. We've never talked about Japan, never been there. And then it just keeps popping up all of a sudden. Different people that have been there and they've spoken to us and said it's amazing. Then we're also in a group that's either renting or buying places in Japan direct from the owner. And we looked at those prices and went, oh my goodness, they're like so much cheaper than I expected. I thought Japan was going to be like crazy prices. It's actually quite doable. So Japan, perhaps.
So we're just working out a bit of a business model to be able to do this, where people could come and house sit for us, which means free accommodation, if they come through our program, and yeah, basically kind of we'll be commencing a brand new version of a internal referral network for our fellow house sitters and the people that we connect with, and you know, we get a chance to teach everything we know, so that we have, I guess, like a threshold or a bar as such of what we expect if we're going to give a referral to a house sit. We want to know that people are going to do a good job, and there's no better way to do that than to have people actually house sit for us.
Yeah.
So this is the idea. We're just going to roll out kind of some, numbers and play around with it. But we've already started looking at what's potentially here in Vanuatu. Vanuatu is an amazing place, and so many people are, blown away when they come here and they realise that this little town is like, a piece of Europe in the Mexican Sierras, as we've always called it. It's just beautiful.
It really is stunning. So
And
to have a place here would be a great place for new house sitters to land, because
there's a great community.
There's
here
a
as
really
well.
good community that we've got here, and our best friend only lives next door. This is actually his apartment that he's renting. And
so you could pay him to rent it.
Yeah.
Or you could come and house it for us for free.
Sure. It's your choice. So there's actually a really good crew here, and it would be a great place to land for new house sitters. So this would be for people coming through our new program. So we've had the House Sitting Academy, which is a self-study course since 2014. So lots of people have come through that. Hundreds of people have come through that. But we're just realizing more and more that people want to talk to us about house sitting. They want to ask us questions directly, and they want to see how would it fit for their travels and their lifestyle. Would it work for them? So we put together a day long, and it may run a little bit longer than a day.
But it's a deep dive. It's an immersion.
It's teaching you from A to Z about house sitting. So you come in not knowing anything in the morning, and by the afternoon or the evening, we've got you totally up to speed on house sitting, how it works, particularly international house sitting, because it's very different. The do's and don'ts of that sort of stuff,
and how to have this travel hack be a lifestyle.
But then also get you set up for it. It's one thing to talk about; it's another thing to actually be on a platform with a profile, with references, ready to go and apply for house sits. So then this other idea that came in from Jodie yesterday was because we'd already thought about the emotion experience for the day. And
we've already done it with a couple of people.
Yeah, we've actually already started these.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, what a great value add to actually have your first house sit where you would get a reference from us as a house sitter. Yeah. And to stay in one of our places, starting here.
Eventually around the world.
And eventually around the world. You'll be able to come for a week or 2 weeks. And actually stay and do a house sit. Yeah. So you'll have plants. You won't have pets because we're not having pets. But you'll have plants and cleaning and just other stuff to do on the house sit. So that's the idea, and that would give us crazy not being able to decide between being nomadic and also having a home base. This is both for us. So we have home bases around the world. So we get to travel, keep our clothes in Japan or Europe or wherever it is, and have all our bits and pieces in different locations, so we can just pop in and grab our stuff, stay for a little bit, then go again, so that house sitters could come in who have been doing these immersions, come in and actually do a house sit for us. So that's the idea. So we get the best of both worlds.
So you're going to pen and paper it, play around with it. Basically, this is a brand new business model, brand new business for us. We're going to sit and see if we can crunch the numbers, make sure everything is covered and paid for, and that it's a win-win for everyone. So if this sounds like it's a good idea and it's something you'd be interested in, please leave a comment or just reach out to us and let us know. And it's great having an idea and then kind of trying to work it out, but before we go and commit to at least here and eventually around the world, we need to know if this is something that would be of interest. So
definitely let us know, even if you're not interested in house sitting. Let us know what you think of the actual idea itself. Is it a good idea?
We love thinking outside the box. We love the idea. I mean, because even when our friends said about the subletting or doing like Airbnb type of thing, it's like, nah, that's not it. That's not it.
It's like, and then as soon as Jodie said it yesterday, I was like, that's it.
Yeah. So
that feels like
think along the lines of just paying to learn from us, or experiencing a retreat or whatever it is that you would normally pay for, because accommodation is actually the most expensive part of travel.
Totally.
People think it's the flights and whatever else. It's never that. It's
always get a cheap flight.
So getting free accommodation from having invested in your education or your time out or whatever it is, we're going to crunch the numbers, see if it's sort of a week thing, a 2-week thing, a month thing. It could be up to 3 months. Like if we're going to go and take a train trip around Europe, there could be house sitting available at any of our properties. How cool would that be? Like, could you imagine saying, "Oh, any of our properties around the world"?
Well, we go traveling for 3 months. It's like,
I love it. I think the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, this is out there, and let's give it a go.
It's so funny though, because growing up, and I don't know where this ever came from, I had this idea that I was always going to have holiday homes around the world, and that's pretty much what we have done and had as house sitters. Yeah. So they weren't our houses; they were everybody else's houses, and we've been to 35 countries with house sitting. So amazing. But now this is sort of like the next level of like, you can have your own place where you can put your stuff and you can feel like you've got a little bit of a home base and settle a little bit more than not just carrying everything that we own all the time. And that's something we've been talking about too. I keep saying to Jodie, I think rather than flying from Canada to Costa Rica to Nicaragua, back up to Canada to
across to England,
down to Asia. We literally travelled and traversed the world while we were house sitting. Like, we didn't even care where the next house sit was. We would just go to it if it really resonated.
But stupidly, the flights were really inexpensive.
Crazy
so
cheap.
We've got other videos that talk about our actual expenses, but regardless.
But now we're going to focus on regions. So we would have the Japan house sit or the house or the Vietnam house, because we were doing Asia at the time, or we were going to be in Europe. So let's have the house in Montenegro.
Anyway,
that's the idea.
It could be a complete, dumbass idea.
I think it's going to work.
Or we can work it out, see if we can actually make the numbers work, and, we'll let you know. But please give us your feedback.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see what you think about this crazy idea of Jodie's. Finally landing.
We've actually unpacked the wardrobe with, the bits and pieces that we've got here, but we may not even have to go through it. We might just sit and wait for a moment and not decide to do anything with it. We're not going to sell the vacuum cleaner or the juicer or the
That's
other
crazy.
things
We kept some knives and forks, just some really basic stuff right at the end.
Potato peeler.
Yeah, right at the end of leaving our rental property last. We went, maybe we don't sell everything and give it away. We're giving away to neighbours and people in our little village thing. And I was like, maybe we hold off on that because there's just something that says just in case.
Yeah.
So there you go. Intuitive, maybe.
See you next time.
All right. There you go. Bye.